Hey, and welcome. This story is about a family that went too far only to find it backfire. My parents always labeled my 12-year-old daughter the slow one, while her cousin was the star. At their anniversary party, they declared her cousin would get it all the house and a $280,000 trust. But I didn't shed a tear. Instead, I stood up, smiled, and revealed my daughter's secret. My parents' faces went white. If you've ever seen a child realize they're unwanted, I hope you never do. My parents' anniversary was meant to be simple. Cake, a few speeches, forced photos, the usual. But my daughter Eleliana treated it like an operation. She was ready hours early, restyled her hair, and told me, "I'm filming this for the memories." She said it as if she knew good moments in our family are rare and you have to capture them before they disappear. The instant we arrived, I sensed how the night would unfold. My niece, Sophia, was already the center of attention, with people taking photos like she was a celebrity. My sister Daniela and her husband Brandon stood by like proud agents. Eleliana raised her phone to film anyway. Hope dies hard. We hadn't even found our seats when my dad made his first swipe. He passed by, saw her phone, and said, "Careful, honey, try to keep up." Eleliana offered a polite little laugh, the kind kids use to stay out of trouble. Then my mom swooped in, kissed her cheek, and said, "There's my little." She paused, looking Eleliana over before finishing with, "Help her. Not granddaughter, not sweetheart, but help her." Eleliana's smile flickered, but held steady. Once dinner began, the room grew louder, and phones came out. A professional videographer circled the tables like a shark. Then the slideshow started. 20 pictures of Sophia with her awards, smiling, and a single photo of Eleliana caught mid-sneeze. She saw it. I watched her notice. She said nothing, just lowered her phone a bit, as if adjusting the angle could fix the image. Then my dad grabbed the microphone for his 40-year anniversary speech. He smiled, looking like he was about to do something magnanimous. "Tonight," he announced, "we are also celebrating this family's future." Daniela placed a hand on Sophia's shoulder, who smiled on cue. My dad declared, "Sophia will be inheriting the house." The room applauded. My mother smoothly took the mic next, her smile camera perfect. "And the family trust, $280,000, she announced, nodding to Sophia, "will go to her as well. Eleliana is not a beneficiary." People clapped again, some actually cheering, as if it were a talent competition. Eleliana's phone remained up for a moment, as if waiting for her name to be called. It wasn't. As my parents stepped back, my dad leaned to a guest and chuckled audibly. "You know how it is. One's a genius, and one's the slow one." Eleliana's phone dropped so fast, it recorded the tablecloth. It was an involuntary reaction, her body moving before her mind could deny what she'd heard. The room chuckled, not everyone, but enough. It was that nervous laughter of relief that it wasn't you. Eleliana froze, as if staying still could stop the hurt, as if by disappearing she could make it easier for them. I didn't break down. I rose, smiled, and told them my daughter's truth. When I finished, the color drained from my parents' faces. I should clarify that this wasn't new. They didn't just decide to be cruel that day. It's a pattern they've had for decades. They just grew bolder, doing it to a child who couldn't fight back. In my family, there has always been a ranking. Daniela was at the top. I was near the bottom. I remember being 15 at Sunday dinner. My dad asked Daniela about school, and she recited her grades. My mom beamed. "That's my girl." Then he turned to me. "And Maya," he said, "how's everything?" Just a vague question, not about school or friends, as if my whole life was just a general problem. "I'm fine," I told him. He leaned back, smiling condescendingly. "Just don't fall too far behind. Daniela is going places." Everyone laughed. It wasn't cruel laughter, just normal for our family. I laughed along because I had learnt the rules. Reacting makes a scene, but staying quiet is mature. So I became very good at being mature. I just swallow it, smile, and fade away. I got pregnant young, and Aleliana's father left quietly, avoiding being the villain by just disappearing. It was on me. I worked hard and raised Aleliana, learning how to stretch every dollar, minute, and ounce of patience. I mastered signing school forms with one hand while cooking with the other. I was the mom who could hit a parent-teacher meeting and the grocery store in 1 hour. My family just didn't see competence. They only saw me as a cautionary tale. The remarks started subtly and grew sharper. If you had just waited, she needs 2 parents. That's why she is behind. And Daniela would sit there with her perfect family, nodding with false empathy, benefiting from every single comparison. Soon Liliana started having real trouble with reading, the kind that chips away at a kid's confidence daily. She'd stare at a page as if the letters were swimming. She'd lose her place and then get angry at herself, treating it like a personal failing. She could read a word 1 minute and stumble on it the next. One evening she slammed her book shut and whispered, "Why can't my brain work right?" A sentence like that sticks with you. So I had her tested. Dyslexia. It's not rare or shameful, just a different kind of brain in a world that demands conformity. Eleliana is incredibly smart and funny. She can recall details of a conversation from 3 weeks ago that I'd forgotten instantly. She sees patterns everywhere and has a creativity that amazes adults. She just doesn't process text in the way my parents define intelligence. They didn't respond with any curiosity, only judgment masked as concern. "Oh, that's so hard," my mom would say. At a holiday party, Aleliana was slowly reading a card aloud, really trying. Someone laughed loudly. "Take your time, honey. We'll be here all night." A few others snickered. Sophia then snatched the card, announcing, "I'll do it," full of confidence. People clapped as if Sophia had just performed a rescue. I looked at my parents, hoping they would intervene. My mom just smiled and said, "See, that's what real confidence sounds like." Eliliana held back her tears until we were in the car. On the way home, she asked quietly, "Mom, am I stupid?" I pulled over so fast the seatbelt locked. I turned to face her. "No, you are not stupid. You're different, and that's not a bad thing." In that moment, something inside me broke. I can handle cruelty aimed at me. I've had years of practice. But watching it hit my daughter, while they call it family, is another story. My grandma Elena saw it all. She was my mum's mother, but totally unlike her. She didn't act kind. She just was. In her final months, I visited her more often. Liliana adored my grandma, who never treated her as fragile, but as a whole person. One afternoon, Liliana was reading a recipe card. She got stuck on a word, and her face tensed, preparing for a critique. Grandma covered the card. "Pause," she said. Eleliana looked up. "Do you know what smart people do?" Grandma asked. Eleliana shrugged. "They ask for what they need," she said, "and they never feel sorry about it." Then she read the card with her, slowly and without any judgment or comparison. When Eleliana left the room, Grandma looked at me. "They're doing it again," she said. I knew exactly what she meant. They did it to you, and now they're doing it to her. I tried to laugh it off, my defense against crying, but Grandma didn't smile. She leaned in. "Promise me something." I asked what. "If they ever publicly humiliate that girl, if they try to cast her aside, you will not just sit there and accept it." I was stunned. "Promise me," she urged. I promised. A week later, I saw Grandma again. She looked tired, but her eyes were still sharp. She pointed to some documents on her table. I didn't know what they were. My family doesn't bond over paperwork. Grandma tapped the papers and said softly, "I am putting some protections in place." "For what?" I asked. "For your daughter," she replied, "and for you." Then she added, "Because your mother pretends not to see, and your father pretends his cruelty is honesty." I swallowed hard. They will be furious. A faint smile crossed Grandma's lips. "Let them." 8 months ago, my grandma passed away. My family made a big show of grieving, posting about our tight bond, which is rich coming from people who forget my daughter's birthday but know Sophia's schedule. A few weeks after the funeral, I got a knock on my door one night. Eleliana was watching her show when I answered the door. A man in a coat stood there, holding a leather folder. Miss Maya Friedman? He began, introducing himself as Mr. Caldwell, my grandmother's attorney. My stomach twisted. I braced for some adult problem I would have to fix. Mr. Caldwell glanced past me to where Eleliana was laughing. He lowered his voice, asking to come in. He stood by the kitchen counter, careful not to impose, as if he knew that arriving with papers is always an invasion. He opened his folder and pushed a sealed envelope my way. Your grandmother left you this, he explained, with specific instructions. I stared at the official-looking packet. The kind of thing you only see in movies about rich families. Spoiler, they have just as many feelings. They just use nicer paper. What is this? I asked. A recent change, he replied, signed just before she passed. My mouth went dry. Why? She knew what was happening, he said. I didn't need to ask what he meant. We both understood. The trust owns the house and all the funds, he explained. My parents are just beneficiaries, not the controllers they pretend to be. That single sentence made so much sense. They always treated the house like a prize they could award to Sophia. Mr. Caldwell said, this only comes into play if they try to exclude your daughter in a way that's undeniable. Something concrete, like an email or a recorded statement. I looked at him, confused. His expression softened. Because your parents are clever. They phrase things carefully so they can deny them later. My grandmother wanted to avoid a he said, she said situation. He slid the envelope closer. This isn't a threat. Don't wave it around. Just keep it. I swallowed hard. And if they do it? His voice dropped. Then the trust activates as your grandmother intended. He didn't offer details. He didn't have to. He gave me the tool and the rules, then he left. I held the packet in my kitchen, a shield and a grenade, all in one. I never wanted to be the person who brings lawyers into family drama. But the anniversary invite, with its glittering script about our legacy, made my stomach clench. So, I packed the folder, just in case. Then we were in that room, cameras everywhere, and my parents said it. When I got up, I didn't feel brave. I just felt resolved, like fear wasn't on the menu tonight. My parents were in full performance mode. Daniela's smile was plastered on. Sophia looked happy but dazed. A child turned into a trophy. Eleliana was staring intently at the tablecloth. I spoke before I could talk myself out of it. I stood up. My brain offered unhelpful commentary. I smiled a polite, disarming smile that was also a clear warning. Then I said, loud enough for every phone to hear, my daughter is a beneficiary. The room didn't go silent immediately. It was more like a slow fade. Applause faltered. A laugh died in someone's throat. The cameraman instinctively turned toward me. My father blinked. My mother gripped her champagne glass tighter. I didn't let them regain their footing. Of Grandma Elena's trust I specified, leaving no room for argument. The one that owns this house. The one holding 280,000. Absolute silence fell. The kind where you can hear a pin drop. My dad moved toward me, as if he could physically stop my words. Maya, he said in a low voice, sit down. Not a question, just a command. My mom's smile was painfully bright. Sweetheart, you must be mistaken. Daniela shot up, her chair scraping the floor. Brandon grabbed her arm. Sophia seemed puzzled. Kids can always tell when you're being dishonest, even without knowing the details. I produced a folder from my bag and displayed it. I kept it closed, not reading anything aloud. I simply held it so those closest could make out the title and the signature at the bottom. It was Grandma Elena's name. Mom's breath hitched as if she'd been struck. My father's face turned a sickly shade of pale. That's not Daniela began. Brandon interrupted loudly. This is completely out of line. I almost snorted. Yes, Brandon, it is. Just like publicly disowning a child on a microphone, but by all means, let's talk about etiquette. My dad's voice sharpened. Where did you find that? From Grandma's lawyer, I answered, keeping my tone level. He shook his head. Impossible. We are the trustees. You were? I corrected, letting the past tense sink in. Mom's smile faltered. Maya? We were being general. We never said Aleliana would get nothing. I gestured to the forest of raised phones. Care to tell those cameras you didn't say it? Then my gaze fell on Aleliana. Her phone was on the table, no longer recording. She clutched it like a shield, her eyes wide and glistening, but refusing to shed a tear. This would not be another bad memory for her to endure. This isn't up for debate, I stated. You said it plainly. My dad's hand moved for the folder, and I instinctively took a step back. Not in fear or for drama, but protectively, the way you would if someone reached for your kid. Daniela started talking quickly, as if speed could change the facts. You're just jealous. You always were. No. I cut her off. I'm doing this because you labelled my daughter the dumb one before a crowd with cameras and then declared she gets 0. The mood in the room changed. People exchanged glances. Someone's expression soured with discomfort. Even if they had laughed before, nobody enjoys being reminded of it. My mother's voice became shrill. We never said that. You did, I confirmed, and this whole night is on video. That's precisely why Grandma worded it this way. My dad's jaw clenched. What's that supposed to mean? Someone from another table muttered. I kept my answer brief and clear. It means you don't get to exclude Eliana while living off Grandma's money, like it's your private bank. I noticed my father's nostrils flare as he leaned in. You're shaming us. I angled my head slightly. Yes, I said softly. It's funny how it's only shameful when it's happening to you. My mom's eyes blazed. You're spoiling our anniversary, I looked from Eliana to them. You spoiled a 12-year-old, I replied. I'm just choosing not to take part. I didn't stick around to debate the finer points or get drawn into an argument. I left because my child was still there, and winning a public fight was never the objective. I faced Eliana, offered my hand, and said, Let's head home. She shot up so fast her chair almost fell over. As we departed, my dad shouted after me, his voice sharp for all the phones to capture. This is far from over. We will fight this. I didn't look back. I just called over my shoulder, good luck denying what you said into a microphone. And then we were gone. We hadn't even reached the car park when my phone began buzzing uncontrollably. My dad, my mom, Daniela, Brandon, and a cousin saved as Aunt Renee because of course there's always an enabler. Eleliana walked beside me, bracing herself. In the vehicle, she stared out the window and whispered, Am I in trouble? That single question hurt more than anything my family had said. No, I said instantly. You are not in trouble at all. You did absolutely nothing wrong. She nodded, still rigid. Did I spoil their evening? She asked. I gave a short, weary laugh. Sweetheart, they spoiled their own night. They've had years of practice. Her lips twitched into a near smile, but she caught herself, as if uncertain it was allowed. Back at our house, I made hot chocolate as if it held some magic. Aleliana sat stirring at the counter and finally asked, What does beneficiary mean? It means, I explained, Grandma wanted to make sure you were looked after. Aleliana gazed into her cup. Because I'm not smart. A tightness seized my chest. I knelt to her level. You are not dumb, I said. You're 12. You're witty, you're determined. You also have dyslexia. That just makes reading harder. It doesn't make you less. She swallowed hard. I don't want them to despise me. I know, I said, and hated that I understood her fear so well. After Eleliana was finally asleep, I sat at the kitchen table, found the anniversary clip, and sent an email to Mr. Caldwell. The video footage says it all. The next day, my inbox chimed at 6:12 a.m. The subject read, Confirmation of Notice Receipt, Elena Family Trust. It's the kind of message your stomach churns at. even when you expect it. I paused for a beat before opening it. Mr. Caldwell's name was right at the top, concise and all business. He'd gotten my message, video and all, from the anniversary party. Dad's speech, Mom's laugh, the part about Sophia, it was all there, captured amid the applause. But one line sent tremors through my hands. The incident was documented. The process starts now. Administrative steps. Such harmless sounding words until they become a threat. My phone went off at 7:03 a.m. It was Dad. I ignored it. He kept calling. A voicemail appeared. His tone was initially composed, his most menacing state. Maya, he began, I need you to stop this charade immediately. This is all a mistake. Then his composure shattered. If you don't fix this, you'll be sorry. I kept the message, not for spite, but for survival. Single mothers learn to keep records. At 8:20 a.m., Daniela's lengthy text arrived, starting with, How could you do this to our parents? Reading her words, my mind went silent. Not numb, just completely finished. I replied with a single line, You saw what they did to my daughter. Then I turned my phone over. I've realized arguing with those who reject facts is futile. It's not going to work, and you get hurt. Their escalation was swift. The school phoned that afternoon. The receptionist's chipper voice had no idea she was dropping a bombshell. We're just calling to confirm. Eleliana's grandmother and grandfather are here for pickup. Ice flooded my veins. What? I managed. They told us it was an emergency, she explained. They are on her file as family. And they were. I added them years back, when family meant something different. I had not changed it. Another item on my endless to-do list, right next to my anxiety. My grip tightened on the phone until it ached. Do not let her go, my voice was steel. I am coming now. I bolted from work, my panicked pulse setting the pace. At the school, I found my mother wearing the saccharine smile she reserves for public deception. My father was beside her, stiff with annoyance that his will wasn't being obeyed. Eleliana, thankfully, was not yet there. My mum turned to me, cooing, Maya, we only wanted a word with her. My father interrupted. We are her grandparents. I strode to the desk and faced the receptionist. Take them off her file, I ordered. Immediately. Mom's smile vanished. Maya, please do not. Dad's tone lowered. You're escalating this. I met his gaze. No, I said. You did. You ambushed my daughter at her school. Anger flared in my mother's eyes. We are family. A short, bitter laugh escaped me. That word is off limits after yesterday. My dad moved in. Let's discuss this in private. Your chance for private is over, I told him. You picked a microphone. The receptionist wished the printer would swallow her. Mom's voice shook. We wouldn't have harmed her. I looked right at her. You already have. I turned to face my father. Go. His chest swelled. I beg your pardon? Leave, I said again, my voice even, or I will have security called. His face flushed, stunned at this public defiance. He started to speak, but then glanced at the audience. He choked back his fury. Fine, he bit out. We'll settle this differently. Then they left. When Eleliana appeared moments later, my expression stopped her cold. What's wrong? She breathed. I knelt down, stroking her hair. My hands trembled, but my voice was firm. I've updated your pickup list at school, I explained. Just me now. Okay. Eleliana's wide eyes showed she understood. Were they here? They wanted to chat, I said, but no more ambushes. She gulped. In a small voice, she said, I'm sorry. My heart broke. No, I insisted. Never apologize for what grown-ups do. She slumped against me, her resilience finally giving way. I embraced her there in the office, ignoring any onlookers. Let them film this, I dared them. A fortnight later, a bulky, certified letter was delivered to my parents. Aunt Renee sent me a picture of it, eager to spread the news. The green sticker, the signatures, the formal stamps. were all visible. Bold letters at the top spelled it out. Notice of trustee removal. Elena Family Trust. Beneath that, another line. Notice of termination of occupancy benefit. Legalese for you are being evicted. A pleasant chill ran down my arms. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was Mom. I picked up to the sound of her unraveling. Maya, this is crazy. It can't be real. Behind her, I could hear my father shouting, not his usual measured rage, but pure, unadulterated fear. I remained silent, letting her exhaust herself. We did not mean it that way, she pleaded. Not that Liliana gets cut out. We were celebrating. You were putting on a show, I stated calmly. Maya, please, she begged. Phone Mr. Caldwell. Make him stop it. I let out a slow breath. I cannot, I replied. And I would not, if I could, she gasped. You are trying to hurt us. No, I corrected. I am shielding her. My father's voice then broke through, clear over the line. She planned this. She has always been resentful. Mom hissed, "Stop!" at him. A futile gesture. Her shaking voice returned to the phone. We will fight this. My own tone was devoid of emotion. Feel free. We'll say you coerced her, my mother retorted, her words edged with panic. We will claim Grandma was not of sound mind. My heart rate climbed, but my voice held firm. Then I suggest you stop speaking, I advised, since you are on speaker and this is being recorded. A stunned quiet followed. Then came a shriek from my dad, and a noise like a chair being thrown. My mom's voice fell to a hush. You are recording this? I am a single mother, I replied. I document everything. I ended the call. 3 days on, the formal email arrived. The subject read, Subtrust Establishment. Beneficiary allocation finalized. My heart pounded as I opened it. It was concise and drama-free. 2 subtrusts were created, one for each girl, each getting 50%. The $280,000 was to be split, with $140,000 going into each secure account. The house, not being easily divisible, was to be sold. The profits would then be split 50-50 between the 2 subtrusts. A deadline was at the bottom. Occupancy terminated. Vacate within 30 days. Just 30 days. That house was central to my parents' entire image, more a stage than a home, and the curtain was falling. I sat at the table, reading the email until my vision blurred. Liliana entered and asked, Mom, are we all right? I saw my daughter, the child branded dumb by her own family, and my resolve melted. We are fine, I assured her. We are safe now. She gave a slow nod. Will they leave us alone? I paused. I cannot promise what they will do, I admitted, but I can decide who gets near you. Her gaze shot up to mine. Near me? A small smile touched my lips. Exactly, I said. Near you. That evening, I updated all the school's forms, everything I'd neglected. Afterward, I texted my parents a single line. Do not contact Liliana without my permission. My father's response was instant. You cannot stop us. I looked at my phone and wrote back, Try me. Later, I found out the video had not just gone around, it had exploded. I was not the one who shared it. Family chats are self-propagating. They are basically a forest fire with texting. Aunt Renee, the one who chuckled at the party, shared the video like an emergency broadcast. Captions were added. My mother's face was magnified as she said, Eleliana is not included. In 24 hours, half our relatives had viewed it, while the rest feigned ignorance, but had plenty to say. My parents attempted their standard damage control. It was misunderstood, a bad joke, we were misquoted. They threw out the mom was emotional excuse, as if that erased it. None of it landed. This time, their words were not just spoken. They were saved on every phone. 3 months on, the house was sold for $1.2 million. My parents received none of it. No small portion, no allowance, absolutely zero. The funds went directly to the two sub-trusts, split 50-50 as stipulated. After expenses, the remainder was secured in the girls' accounts. My parents were completely and forever shut out. The house was gone. Their trusteeship was revoked. Their financial safety net vanished. Their power to use inheritance as a tool of control was gone. And it was all because they chose to publicly shame a child. The day the sale closed, my father phoned me. His voice had that chilling composure he uses when he's feigning power he no longer has. "We need help," was all he said. Not an apology or an admission of fault, just that. I told him, "You should probably ask Daniela," then hung up. Naturally, my parents went right to her, expecting their golden child to save the day. But Daniela didn't. She locked down Sophia's inheritance and told them in no uncertain terms they weren't getting a dime. She held them responsible for setting off the clause in the first place. Then, in a move that was classic Daniela, she simply went on with her life. Our parents had spent years drilling into her that legacy was a prize and affection was conditional. When it was no longer convenient, she just turned that lesson back on them. After that, they moved into a small rental across town. This wasn't some tragedy of living under a bridge. Life is rarely that cinematic. It was just the sort of place where their name meant nothing. There was no dining room for legacy dinners, no stage, no spotlight, and no audience. Only two people forced to finally confront themselves. A couple of years on, Eleliana was 16 and reading all by herself. Still dyslexic, still a genius, but without any of the shame. As for my parents, I cut them off completely. They lost all contact with me, which also meant they lost contact with her. So, did I take it too far, or not far enough? Tell me what you think in the comments and subscribe.